So today I'm joined by Harriett Smith. Harriet is CEO and also co-founder of both Sammons Recruitment Group and Braeburn Care. So Sammons Recruitment Group is a leading recruitment provider to a range of clients throughout the UK, and Braeburn Care provides care at home services with commitment and passion, covering Kent and East Sussex. So hi Harriet.
Hello.
How are you doing this morning? Okay?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Very good. So, Harriet, look, tell us a little bit more about your businesses.
Okay. Well, as you so kindly highlighted, there are two businesses that I run, Sammons Recruitment Group and Braeburn Care. So if I start with Braeburn Care, by way of background, I started the business from scratch in 2014, growing this over the course of 5 to 6 years to being a multi-site home care business, providing care and support services to vulnerable adults over the age of 18. And we operated across areas of Kent, including Tunbridge Wells, Tunbridge, Sevenoaks, Dartford, Gravesend, and Swanley. At its height, we had 86 members of staff. And in all honesty, that the business was my life. It was a very large operation, heavily weighing on my shoulders. I was exceptionally proud of what we built, but I did know that I wanted something different and something more. And my dad was planning on retiring from his corporate finance career, returning from the US back to the UK. And he asked if I'd like to do something different with him in business, in which I was delighted. We intended to invest the retained earnings that I'd built up in Braeburn Care and our own savings, and decided to put that into a new venture together while I continued to run Braeburn Care alongside. We are very theoretical people, I should say, and we analysed our skill sets to see what we both could bring to the business, our likes, our dislikes. We had pros and cons, and we set out introducing ourselves to brokers on the market. Several businesses were presented to us, one of which was Sammons Recruitment Group. It is a deep-rooted recruitment business, having been established in 1957. And it had a generalist recruitment consultancy providing permanent, temporary and contract recruitment, as well as a niche pensions division, which specialises in recruiting for the occupational pensions industry. And we were introduced to the sellers and we instantly hit it off. The business had been run as a family-owned business since inception, and the sellers took a liking to my father and I as a team of buyers. We went into this venture with the purpose of building over time a larger recruitment group through both organic growth and a buy and build strategy. And then from there was a sale process that we went through, including financial and operational due diligence, taking a number of months. And then we officially became the new owners in November 2019, a few short months before COVID-19. Although I'd replaced myself in my care business with a progressive handover, I did continue to be pulled back into the business on a daily basis. Without over exaggerating, I could arrive at one of the Sammons offices to then receive a phone call relating to our care business, and I'd soon be turning back round to drive to that business. As it's so highly regulated and matters did really depend on the health and well-being of our customers, I was always putting it first. So as you can imagine, with everything that came of COVID-19, I couldn't physically run both. And with an exceptionally heavy heart, in 2020, we closed Braeburn Care to focus on the Sammons business throughout the pandemic. We navigated Sammons through the next year, facing both market turndown and challenges throughout. But we took the opportunity to really invest in the business as well. We carried out a brand refresh, built a new website, we moved our teams into better offices, and we really set our teams up for a strong recovery. Then as they began to excel, we re-embarked on our buy and build strategy. Mm-hmm. And as part of the planned expansion in 2022, we acquired both a small IT recruitment team called Bright Red Resourcing and a further generalist recruitment consultancy in Farnham called On Track Recruitment. We integrated the businesses and have been growing the group since. That's come with even further learnings and, of course, more challenges along the way. But we've continued to develop and have the teams in a really great shape. And then in September 2023, I successfully joined the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses course, which provided a broad spectrum of business and management training for entrepreneurial leaders like myself, which was incredible, extremely hard work as well, but a remarkable opportunity. And it was off the back of this very intense learning that I realised in my heart of hearts, I couldn't stop thinking about Braeburn Care. And deep down, I felt like I had unfinished business in this regard. So it took me a few short months and many sleepless nights before plucking up the courage to say this to both my husband and, of course, my dad. And after I reckon they'd spat their tea out at me, had a moment or two to recover from the initial shock. They both very much supported the idea of relaunching the business and building Braeburn Care back stronger than ever before, taking all of those learnings from not just Goldman Sachs, but of all of my experience through Sammons, the pandemic, and the past. And in March 2024, we did just that. So the business is now in early startup stages with strong foundations being laid. And I'm delighted to say we will be operating both Sammons and Braeburn Care alongside one another as we'd originally planned.
Excellent. Look, very good. Look, thank you for giving us that background. And yeah, really, interesting to learn about that journey that you went through there. So let's delve into that in a little bit deeper, if that's okay, Harriet. So let's go right back to the beginning. Why did you decide to go into business in the first place? Why become a business owner rather than being an employee and just getting a job?
Sure. I never went to university. I made that decision and plucked up the courage to call my dad that very day and say, I've decided this is not my route and I want to go to work, to which he said, I suggest you very quickly get a job, which I did and ended up, I didn't choose this, but I actually just ended up working in the care industry, worked my way up very quickly. And I was very lucky to get quite a lot of exposure and opportunities, understanding a business, a very challenging business, both operationally, but also managerially. I developed my career in opening franchises, small SME businesses. I opened as part of opening an entity of the NHS, and I kept opening operations for other people as my career grew. But my whole life was whichever company I was with, care never sleeps. And I would often give up a lot of my life for my job, which a lot of people do. But it was one day, I think it was actually my stepmom who said to me, why do you keep doing this for other people? Why don't you do it for yourself? And it was then that I thought, yeah, maybe I could do this by myself. And that's when I plucked up the courage, I guess. And my dad, again, gave me support and said, he would help guide me or advise me. He wasn't getting involved in it by any means. But, I think I had a very supportive kind of family behind me that really said, go for it. And that's probably what got me started. And I've never looked back since.
Right. Okay. Excellent. So, and then when you embarked on that sort of initial journey, which was sort of with Braeburn Care,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say were the biggest sort of biggest challenges, or should we say the biggest things that perhaps you didn't expect when you were going into setting up your own business, what were the things that stand out there, that the surprises or the challenges?
I think how many hats you perhaps have to wear,
Mm,
and how deep you have to dig. Um, and especially in a startup, you have to be all things and everything. And that's a pretty scary place to be, and pretty lonely at the best of times. And although, yes, you have to be brave to do it, I don't think maybe at times I anticipated how much you have to juggle, how much you have to know, what's important. And yeah, that was probably the hardest. But yeah, one you have to learn along the way, but you've got to kind of be pretty strong-willed to do so as well.
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we don't often get taught how to run a business.
Oh,
You know, even at schools now, okay, I've got two young daughters, but one of them studied business at A level, but it's not really how to run a business. It's the fundamentals about business, but we never really get taught that. So, as you say, most business owners learn it through experience and doing it themselves.
yeah.
But it sounds like you had some very supportive sort of people around you, like your father. You mentioned was one of them. Who would you say were your biggest sort of advisors or supporters at that time? The people that you could turn to to help you through that time.
Honestly, the only person I turned to at that time was my dad.
Yeah.
Um, but I would never turn to him for a moan or um, what I would see as a petty reason to be turning to him. I really valued the relationship we had
Yeah.
and his experience and how I could lean on that. So I would never call him to be like, Dad, you're not going to guess what happened today. Or, oh my God, I can't do this. I would never, it wouldn't in my wildest dreams pick up the phone and call him to say something like that. And maybe that held me in stronger regard
Mm.
because that then kind of paved the way for how our relationship built over the years and has developed and how we even run our businesses today. Maybe I'll once in a while say, Dad. But it's also very rare. But again, I think he also understands that I would never turn to a team member in our company to say, Dad, or some, to
Yeah.
have one of my moments if I do have any. So I think he also respects that if I am calling him, it's because I just need a moment or I need some advice, or perhaps I do just need to say something to him that I can't say to anybody else.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think that's the thing. I often say, being a business owner is a lonely place sometimes, isn't it?
yeah,
You do need those people to talk to, because, yeah, like, you can't always talk to team members. You want to be open and honest with them, but sometimes there's things that, people may not feel comfortable in talking to team members about. So it is that, yeah, somebody to go to. And look, let's move on from there, because you obviously, built up a good relationship with your dad. Not, I'm sure you had one on a personal basis anyway, but on a business basis, for your dad to say, let's do something together. Now, you mentioned there that Braeburn, the business was your life. Um, so what then made you sort of go, actually, do you know what? I'm going to start a second business here. I'm gonna set up a second business. What made you do, apart from your dad asking you, but what made you think, yeah, I'm going to do this?
I probably saw it as a different opportunity because Braeburn Care had become my life.
Mm,
I was doing my utmost to stop that from continuing.
mhm,
Not to say to take away any of my responsibilities. It more so business shouldn't be the be all and end all.
mm,
And it was my be all and end all, and often at the detriment of my health. And
mm.
that's when something needed to change. and all of the time that I let it be on my shoulders, and everybody every day could come to me, lean on me, and then the business wasn't sustainable. So I was finding ways to make that change, bringing in different team members, bringing in a different structure, and I saw the opportunity for me to move away meant I would then have more capacity to not only be able to oversee Braeburn Care and let it continue to flourish as it had, but also then develop myself and my own interests. My whole world and career had been built up in care and the healthcare sector, and I'm so interested in learning, in developing, personally, as well as all of everything professionally as well. So I saw that as a real opportunity and an insight into other sectors, and I saw an opportunity on how I could then look at two businesses side by side, learn, bring the good, the bad, the ugly together, and try and really develop both, was the opportunity I saw.
And look, I think that's great. And I say this tongue in cheek, but like you said, you were, your Braeburn Care was all consuming, and you thought, I know what I'll do to so that isn't all consuming. I'll set up another business, which is where
Sounds a bit ludicrous. Are you repeating it back to me?
Yeah, most people would go, I can't deal with the first one. I don't want to set up a second one. But the thing I like though, is exactly what you said there. Because to me, Harriet, and I don't say this often, you're a true entrepreneur. Okay, because you've sort of a lot of business owners refer to themselves as entrepreneurs. Owning and running a business doesn't make you an entrepreneur. Owning a number of businesses does make you an entrepreneur. And actually even more so when you start doing it with other people's money as well, that that's when you're a true entrepreneur. But and this springs to mind when you say this, is that actually one of the phrases that we use is because the definition of a successful business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. So if you can create a business that runs and operates without you, then you're a true business owner. You own the business, but you don't necessarily run it. You can run it if you want to. A lot of people enjoy working in their businesses, but actually you don't have to. It runs without you, which is what you look to do with Braeburn Care, so that it frees you up to set up Sammons Recruitment. So look, I think that's great. Now look, let's move on a step from there, because then latterly you mentioned there that actually you were you are now sort of part of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 sort of small business UK alumni. Now, firstly, we should say that's not every business can go on that. You've got to be selected to go on that. So that's one great thing in a first. Sorry, I shouldn't say business owners, because it's the individual that's selected to go on it. So that's a massive congratulations for being part of that. Why did you decide at that time, having sort of built up one business in the process of setting up another, that you thought, actually, do you know what? I'm now going to learn more about how to create and grow and leverage businesses, etc. What made you do that at that time?
Well, I was recommended the course by a previous cohort member, and as you said, it's not easy to get onto. The application stage is very difficult. You go through different stages, and to be honest, I applied thinking, why not? I'd love that opportunity, and okay, I might not get through, but if I don't put myself forward, no one else is going to put me forward. So I personally put it in the drawer, so to speak, and just left it there, carried on my day. And then to my delight, I was shortlisted and then interviewed again and got through. I wanted to develop my own understanding my own knowledge, my own business experience, more so. And as I said previously, I never went to university. I did do business at A level, but I think you can never stop learning. Business keeps evolving. And I only know what I know from building on experience to date.
Mm.
And I thought, well, I could really do with expert advice or learnings, tutorials, teachings. And also I could really benefit from meeting other like-minded people. It's very easy to be consumed by the businesses or business day by day, and not be able to look at the wider world or speak to other people, and not be alone all the time, because you're so busy. And even networking, where I met your good self,
Yeah.
it could have been so easy for me that very day to go, do you know what? I am far too busy. My to-do list is so long that I'm not going to leave my office to go and network with other like-minded people, other businesses. But I've made a commitment to myself that I do put myself into those situations,
Mm.
and do put myself forward, because I only think that the businesses will then benefit from that. I can't lead in the dark, I don't think. So I enjoy learning, and I hope by the learning that I'm putting myself through, my teams and our businesses can continue to develop in that regard.
Yeah, and I think, look, I agree with you. That is very important, and I listen and read a lot to Jim Rohn. Have you heard? Do you listen
Yeah.
to and read Jim Rohn? And one of the phrases that he always sort of says is, "Work harder on yourself than you do on your business." And I think that's a great philosophy. Work harder on yourself than you do on your business. I mean, other things that he says is, you know, don't wish life was easier. Wish that you were better. Which is a similar way of sort of saying the same thing. Stephen Covey. Have you ever read Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Lead or People?
I'm not going to lie, I think it's on my bookshelf, and I'm
Yeah.
embarrassed to say I haven't actually read
Uh,
it.
I'd say it's quite. It can be quite a heavy read. It's quite a thick book, but there's some great things in there. And one of the 7 habits is sharpen the sword. So in other words, he's basically saying there, yeah, work on your skills, developing yourself, because then when I think it's sort of a kickback to something. I think it was Abraham Lincoln said it. If it's something like, if I was given 6 hours to cut down a tree, I'd spend 5 hours sharpening the axe, because then when you actually then start to do the job, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
So it's great. So what? What would you say, thinking back onto your experience through Braeburn Care and also through Sammons Recruitment as well, what would you say has been your biggest, or let's say your 2 biggest learnings?
Um, hmm. It's probably taken me now years to see this myself, but probably don't take anything at face value, and take every knockback, hurdle, and challenge as an opportunity to learn, grow, or only become stronger. Because you will be faced with challenges, knockbacks, hurdles every single step of the way. And it's certainly, now I know it's not personal to
Yeah,
me or to you. It is business. And it took me, yeah, years to kind of realize that. I used to take everything to heart. But I know genuinely now, I know the type of leader and business owner I am. I'm genuinely here and genuinely doing the very best for not only the business, but every single person within our businesses. So I can go to sleep with my head held high, so to speak, knowing that no, I'm taking each challenge. I'm taking every knockback, but we can only grow stronger from it, instead of we can only falter, or yeah.
yeah. I really like that. And fun enough, this must be a message that I'm getting sort of today or something, because I was on a call this morning with some fellow business coaches, and a very similar thing was said there. You get two types of people. One is the people that get knockbacks, make mistakes, but they look at it as a pathway to success. It's just something that has to happen to be successful. Whereas
Yeah.
other people take it as a negative and, oh, it's another knockback. Oh God, and so, yeah. And I think, from what you've sort of said there, you've learned to look at every setback, every challenge, every mistake, whatever it is, as actually, this is just a route to out of my success. This is just something that needs to happen. So it's really, yeah, it's funny that that's the second time I've heard that, in a few hours today. So look, Harriet, there's one question that I always like to ask everyone that joins me on this podcast, which is, what is the best advice that you would give an 18-year-old you?
You get one life.
Okay.
Live it and don't hold back.
Yeah. Really cool. Really cool. I like that. Yeah, it's one of the reasons I asked that, Harriet, is because I mentioned to it earlier. I've got an 18-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
Well, I've got two daughters, 15 and 18, and yeah, I want to sort of pick up what other people would say to themselves when they're 18, so that I can pass that onto her. Because, yeah, like any father, she doesn't listen to me. If somebody else says it, then yeah, it's much more valuable than if I say it. So I like that. So
Go my way.
yeah. So what was it? You only get one life, so live it. Yeah. Which was
Don't hold back.
Don't hold back. I love that. Well, look, Harriet, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me and sharing more about, your businesses and also your journey. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.